Well, hello everyone. It's good to see you today. So welcome to my kitchen. I'm sorry if it echoes. That's kind of how it works in the kitchen, right? We got this big open space. But hey, this is my kitchen and you're welcome to it. So here's a couple things. This last summer, I taught a cooking class. And it was mostly for kids, but I found out that the information that I was sharing, some of the parents were wishing that they had come to class and learned it as well. So I think that this class will be great for kids as well as adults. It's mostly going to be basics because if we don't know where to start, how are we going to go any further? But most cooking classes are very advanced and for very well-seasoned women or men who have been cooking for a long period of time. But today, I'm going to be teaching for everyone, for kids, anyone who didn't learn. So like, let's say your mom was really busy and she didn't have time to teach you how to cook. Now you can learn, whether you're young or old. And what if your mom didn't know how to cook? She didn't even know what to teach you. You guys went to McDonald's for every meal or you cooked it in the microwave because you didn't really know how to use skills to cook. Those are not helpful. Those are not fun. So we want to make sure that we're able to teach you how to be able to get around in the kitchen, what you need to do in the kitchen, and be able to learn to cook in the kitchen. So here we go. There was a... I'm thinking about just starting this right now, okay? The first lesson I'm going to give you is about the range, okay? Anything that you cook on here is part of the range. It's an oven, and it's a stove, and a stove top. So it can be used in a myriad of ways. One of the things about the oven has its own setting, and that's the part that you put things in to bake it. When I get my phone hooked up, I will be able to make it so you can see inside the oven. But when you have this cooktop, this is what we're going to be focusing on today. So there's a lot of different functions that ovens have. You can have a new oven, an old oven. It doesn't really matter how what kind of an oven you have, just as long as it works. There's gas ovens and there's electric ovens and there's also propane, but they don't make those as often. Some people even cook on a stove out with a fire underneath, but I don't have one of those anymore. This one is just a regular old gas oven and stove range. So it's a regular old gas range. And what we're going to do today is we're going to start boiling water, because when you learn how to boil water, there's really not a lot that you can't make. You can make pastas, you can boil eggs, you can boil potatoes, you can boil vegetables, or even just simmer things. That means that you're not cooking them as long. When you boil something, you're going to bring it to a certain heat for a certain amount of time so that it actually cooks all the way through or very well. And so we want to make sure that when you're cooking that you're able to do that. Because if you can make if you can boil water, you can make pasta. And that pasta can be macaroni for macaroni and cheese. If you can cook pasta, because you can boil, you can make spaghetti. You can make rice. You can do rice-a-roni. You can do regular boiled rice. You can do white or brown rice. And you can make like Chinese food. You can do all sorts of things. If you can boil water, there's just so many different things that you can make. You can warm things up. So here we have a regular pot, and it just has some water in it. I put about just under half full of water, okay? Because all I'm going to do is boil some eggs. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure it's on a stove top that it actually fits. You don't want it to be too small, and you don't really need it to be too large, especially if you have an electric oven, because when you have an electric oven, it has these heated spirals, and they heat all the way out on an electric oven. But this is a gas oven, and so this only is going to be how high I want it. Now, you're going to have little dials on the front. Let's see if I can tip this just a bit. Do you see that, how I have dials on the front there? Okay, so those dials are going to make it to where, hold on a second. Those dials are going to make it to where I can adjust the heat that goes in onto my pot or whatever it is that I'm cooking on the stove, and actually for in the stove if you use the middle dial. So I will go ahead and make this so you can see it better, because you'll want to see this. Okay, so I'm sorry I can't give you a close-up, but if you look on your dial, it's going to say off okay? And it's also going to give you some other heating temperatures that you can use, like low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all the way up to 8 usually, or high. And so what that means is that the higher the number, the hotter your temperature. The lower the number, the cooler the temperature. You can even go all the way down just to where you're warming it. So what this is going to do is I'm going to turn on this front oven. They have a little picture right here of which burner that they actually activate when you turn it on. So this one is on off, and I'm going to light it because it's gas. That means I have to actually light it to get heat to it. Now this one's already pre-lit with a pilot light, but sometimes you have to use a match to do this. And no matter what, if you have to use a match or you can do it automatically, you have to give it a chance to light before you do anything else. And if it's a gas oven and has heat coming out of it from a flame, it's going to tell you where it needs to be in order to start it. And you're going to be able to hear it. So you might be able to hear it too on this recording. So you're going to go to the light, and it already lit, as you can see. So if you had a match, you would light it real quick because it would be making that noise. And then you're going to adjust it to the heat you want. It always starts with high and then works down low. And I don't need it super high. But we want this water to boil fast, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it up just a bit. Now I'm going to step over to the side real quick, and I'm going to get into my easy cupboard. You'll be excited because next week I'm actually going to be teaching you a little bit more about organizing in the kitchen. If you want, you could get your kitchen ready by watching my YouTube video from yesterday about how to get your kitchen ready so that you can have it in a very simple, awesome manner. You can see my counters are cleared. They're always this way. I keep pot holders over here, and I keep this bin of utensils right here, but that's all I really keep on the counters. I used to keep a rooster in the corner, but he broke, so he's gone. So anyway, so I've got this water on. It's going to boil. It's going to boil a lot faster if I add salt to it, so I'm going to go do that right now. I'm going to get into my cupboard, and I'm going to grab salt. And I'm just going to do about 3, 4, 5, 6 shakes. Doesn't really matter. You just want a little bit of salt in there to help it activate the boiling activity. And then I'm going to grab what we're going to be cooking. So today, all I'm doing is showing you something really basic, even though there's several things that you can do with this, all right? And we'll talk about that in just a second. So this is just a regular old carton of eggs. There was 12 in here. I've used a few, whatever. There's still plenty left. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these in, and this I barely just put on the heat, so the water is fairly cool. Well, the way eggs work, you're welcome to put these eggs in the water, and it's actually best if you put it in the water before it heats up. And you can even actually touch the water if it's not too hot, because you want to make sure you set it down without dropping it. If you drop it, it's going to break. And you just want to make sure that you're setting it down in the water properly. And carefully is probably the word I want more. So I'm going to be doing 3, 4, I'll do 5 eggs for kicks and giggles. And that way you can see this. And you're going to love this because there's so many different things you can do. I want you to start thinking that when you meal prep or make meals, sure, it's great to be able to cook just for right now, for this one meal, for one breakfast, one lunch, one dinner. But it's even more efficient to think ahead. When you think ahead, you can make more things with just one cooking session. So let's say I needed to make a potato salad for tomorrow night's get-together. And so I want to boil these eggs for that potato salad. But I also need lunch today. And I have a couple of cans of tuna handy. So here's some cans of tuna, right? So if I boil just 6 eggs, if I'm making a big potato salad, I'm going to make about, for my family, I'm going to do a dozen eggs. But if maybe you have a smaller family, you can make it for either 3 or 4 people, and you can just boil. I usually do 1 egg per person, and that makes it just the right amount for a potato salad. So you're going to boil eggs as well as boiled potatoes for potato salad. Now, I'm not going to make potato salad today. I'll probably make it a different time. But, well, hello, how are you? From Italy. So this is going to be for potato salad or tuna fish, because tuna fish, you can really spruce it up by doing boiled eggs, celery, green onion. Some people like relish or pickles in it, maybe dill or sweet relish. And you'll just do different things to make it. We'll talk about a little bit more about that when we get to that state of cooking. But right now, we're just going to be talking a little bit about this boiling, because when we boil these eggs, they're going to sit here, and it's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes at the most to get this to a rolling boil. And the nice thing about eggs is they're pretty predictable. Once they start to have a rolling boil in the water, you only need to boil them for 15 minutes. And as soon as it starts to boil, I'll set my timer so I don't forget, because I don't want my eggs to explode. And you know, if you cook eggs too long, they're gonna explode. So I know this might seem very basic, and today it is kind of basic, but it's very important to have a good understanding of your stove. And since I wanted to make sure we got this water boiling so it'd be ready for the next segment, I went ahead and started this. Okay, now what I want to talk to you about is that there was a study, all right? There was a study on, these researchers got together because they were researchers and marketers, and they got together and they wanted to find out what the secret to the very best kitchen was. And they went and they visited the top chefs in the world. They went all over the world and they interviewed many, many chefs. And they were asking them questions like the best pots and pans, the best cookie sheets to use, the best setup of the kitchen, the best ingredients to have in a kitchen, the best kind of kitchen design. Was there one design that was better than another? Was there one type of cooking that was better than the other? Was there one country that had a better system than another? And they just went to all these different chefs trying to find out whose kitchen was the best, what system was the best. I'm sure the marketers were hoping that there'd be a certain product that the most of them thought was the best. But the truth of the matter is, they could have made a lot of money if they'd have promoted one kind of pot or one kind of pan or one kind of system, you know, that you'd have a construction company just building that exact kitchen saying it's world renowned and everybody knows about this kitchen. But do you know that there was one thing that every chef in the whole world had in common, and they were shocked and surprised by what they learned? I wonder if you can guess what it is. Well, I'll tell you. The one thing that all these places had in common was it didn't matter how their kitchen was set up. It didn't matter if they had a crappy, low-budget kitchen or a very fancy kitchen. It didn't matter if they had the most expensive pots and pans or pans they picked up at the second-hand store. It didn't matter if their utensils were plastic or if they were Teflon or if they were stainless steel or wood. It didn't matter. All those things just didn't matter. It didn't even matter where it was at. What mattered was that the kitchen was cleaned after they cooked. Can you believe that? Cleaning the kitchen was number one for all those kitchens that all those chefs were cooking. They're cooking massive amounts. It didn't matter if they were cooking for just Oprah Winfrey and her husband, or if they were cooking for massive groups of people with 1,500 or 10,000 people. It didn't matter, and everything in between. What mattered the most is that their kitchen was clean. Because if you can start with a clean kitchen, what do you not want to cook? You're going to want to clean if the kitchen is clean. I mean, if this counter was with dirty dishes and all that, would you even want to watch the show? Probably not. You watch any cooking show, they always start with a clean kitchen. Sure, they make a mess as time goes on, but the bottom line is they clean it. One good thing to be able to do that a lot of home organizers or fly ladies, this is Fly Lady Cat, it highlights this, but the one thing is that when you're cooking, it's really helpful while you're cooking and after you've served your meal, is if you have your sink full of hot soapy water. Doesn't matter what kind of soap you use. I mean, whatever makes you happy. Make sure it smells good, because it's a lot more fun to do the dishes if it smells good, but especially if it's clean. Now, I don't know if you can hear it, but I can hear that my water is boiling now, and it's at a rolling boil. I don't know if you can see that, but it's boiling. You can see the steam coming off of it. I'm going to go ahead and set my timer for 15 minutes so I don't forget about these eggs, because I don't want them to die or explode or be unusable. So, anyways, that's how about the water. So now the water's boiling. But if that's the main thing that they learned was having a clean kitchen and then the tip of having the sink full of hot soapy water, that can make it easy for anyone. The next thing I would suggest is invest in a few aprons. There's male aprons, female aprons, neutral aprons that don't matter whether they're for one person or another. What matters is that you want to be able to get dressed for the day, and you don't want your clothes to be all messy. They're going to get wet. They might get food on them. You might spill on them. You might get germs on them, all kinds of things. So have a good amount of aprons. If you just have one apron, it's probably not going to last you a whole week unless you're washing it every day. So I suggest making sure that you have a different apron for every day of the week if possible. I got mine at Ross. They have some really fun aprons, and I just buy them. They're usually $5 or $6, and that's faster than I can make them. Just grab it at the store. I do make aprons. That's kind of fun. I usually do it for kids, though, because they don't require as much time to put together. Anyways, that's just here nor there. All right, so you're going to protect your clothes by using an apron, and you're going to, if you have one. Obviously, if you don't have one, whatever, just don't wear a shirt that you care a whole lot about. The next thing is that it doesn't matter what you make in your kitchen. It doesn't matter what meal you serve. There is one secret ingredient for all the recipes that I have. There's just one secret ingredient. It doesn't matter whether I'm baking in the oven or if I'm cooking on the stovetop or just using something fresh right on the counter. There's one thing that makes the difference in everything I fix and everything you fix. Do you want to guess at what that is? I'll tell you. It's love. Good old-fashioned love. If you put love in everything you're making, whether you believe it or not, your kids can taste it. You can taste it. You know, do you remember when Grandma cooked for you? How yummy it was? It didn't even matter what she made. It was just so delicious. Do you remember if your mom cooked, how delicious the food was? Do your kids tell you, Mommy, you're the best cook. I love your cooking. I'm so lucky you're my mom. Hopefully your kids say that. If not, we're going to teach them how to say that, because all you got to do is put some love in that cooking, and it's going to be yummy. We're going to step it up a notch and be able to help you learn how to cook more things. All right, so we've got these eggs. They're boiling. We've got a few more minutes on the stove, and that's perfect because I want to talk to you about some different things that you can do. When I said think about thinking ahead, you know, so we're talking about what we're going to do with these boiled eggs, and I said you can make potato salad. You can also make the tuna fish salad. But there's another thing you can make that's really simple where you don't even have to do a whole lot, and that's make deviled eggs. Some people call them angel eggs because they don't like to give any credit to that adversary guy. But I just say whatever people know will work. We're just going to call them yummy eggs. So you can make deviled eggs too. And you'll want to make sure that you're here for the rest of the week. I'll start doing these cooking classes every Friday, and they're going to get bigger and better, and you're going to learn how to make lasagna, you're going to learn how to make spaghetti, you're going to learn how to make hamburgers, you're going to learn how to make a steak right in your oven. And all these things are things that kids could cook as well as beginning adults. You're going to make, you're going to learn how to make tacos and enchiladas, enchilada pie, burritos. I mean, just a myriad of things. You can learn how to make Chinese food. We can bake cakes. We can do candied pretzels. There's a lot of things I would like to introduce to you and show to you if you don't already know how to make them. So hopefully this is helpful. It is simple, but I feel like it's really important to learn the basics of a kitchen. One thing that we'll be talking more about next week, and I'll elaborate more about it, is the design of your kitchen. When you have your kitchen set up, it's best to have things more in the general area that you're going to use them. Like my pots and pans are just below here. My silverware and utensils are right here. Up in the cabinet right next to the stove are my seasonings and spices. The cabinet next to that are my plates and my cups and my small plates, my bowls, just the things I'm going to use for every single meal. You can imagine I have a lot of people to cook for. I'm going to have to just knock it out. So that's just a real easy setup for right here in this area. And that's what you're going to want to do. All right, so our eggs are boiling and they're about done. They do take a little bit of time, and that's not fun. But I probably should have had some eggs boiling beforehand. That would have been way better. I didn't do that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you real quick so you don't have to tune in for this whole time. These eggs are going to be done in about 10 minutes. We're going to be long done. I should have had some done. I apologize for that. I'll do another quick thing with it when I do the next video. I might even just put up another video later today showing you the finished product. But these eggs are going to be deviled eggs. All I'm going to do with deviled eggs, I'm just going to take 2 of them. And with those 2 eggs, all I'm going to do is put a tablespoon of mayo and a half a teaspoon of mustard in it. And I'm just going to mix those 2 things up. And then I'm going to take my eggs and I'm going to peel them. And after I peel my eggs, I am going to cut them in half. And after I cut them in half, I'm going to scoop out the yellow part of the egg and I'm going to put it in that bowl with mayonnaise and mustard. And I'm going to spin those 2 together. And then I'm going to put that stuff right back inside that little white yolk. Not yolk, the little white egg white part that has the little hole in it from where you took the egg out. I'm going to put it right inside there. And there's different ways you can do it. And this is really a bummer because I would love to be able to show you. I'm also going to take a couple of eggs. I'm going to cut them up. And I am going to put them in a can of tuna fish. And I'm going to mix them really good with a tablespoon of mayonnaise. And I'm going to add celery if I want. And I'm going to add the egg. And it's going to be really, really yummy. You can also add salt and pepper and anything else that you like. Some people like a nice piece of lettuce on their tuna fish sandwich. So that's what I'm going to tell you about cooking eggs. If you're going to put them in the potato salad, you're going to do the same thing. Allow them to cool a little bit. All these eggs you're going to want to let cool a bit because it could burn your hand. You could run it under cold water to help cool it down. You can even just take your pot over to the sink and fill it with cold water so it can replace the hot water. But all these different things that you can do to help make your life easier. And you could just do it on one counter. So I owe you a session on the boiling, but that's all for today. If there's anything else that you would like to see me cook along the way, other than the things I mentioned, feel free to post those in the comments below, and then I will make it so that you can see how to make those different things. And subscribe if you want to see more. I've got a lot more cooking episodes coming up. I won't do them forever, but just for this year. So hopefully you like them, unless something crazy happens, which not always happens. So anyways, you can make tons of things if you can learn basic skills in the kitchen. I encourage you to learn basic skills. We're going to learn about boiling. We're going to learn about frying. We're going to learn about just all different things that you can do in cooking. So hopefully you will feel more adventurous with each and every lesson that we have here in the kitchen. And that's all I've got for today. Take care. Have a great day.